Hello, welcome back to Striking Sunday with Johnny Tiger on December 26, 2021. And happy Boxing Day to our Canadian European friends, although it's not the kind of boxing we're thinking about. Boxing Day, for those of you who are not familiar with it, it's like a Black Friday after Christmas Day where people go to the store and almost everything is 50% off and you spend a lot of money buying things that you probably don't need. So that's our Boxing Day. So today, Kitten and I and a couple of friends we were out and about all day. Uh, and so now Kitten is tending to her other chores, and I am here doing a Makeup Survival Saturday video because I missed out on Survival Saturday yesterday. We are both very, very tired, and it's really cold. Here in British Columbia, some parts of BC is hitting minus 40. Okay, minus 40. I don't even need to say Celsius or Fahrenheit because when it gets to minus 40, Celsius and Fahrenheit are the same. Yeah, really. I couldn't get over that either. But if you Google it, when is Fahrenheit and Celsius the same? Minus 40 is one of those temperatures that the two actually meet, and it's on equal ground. So yeah, parts of BC is getting minus 40 temperature, crazy, crazy cold, even here in Richmond. So uh, I most likely won't get around to a Soul Search Sunday because, like I said, cold and tired, been out all day. But be rest assured, Mindful Monday will be coming tomorrow, and also Music Monday as well. So, striking. Today, we're going to talk about uh, the intricacy around slapping. Right? Some people say bitch slapping. Okay. Uh, I have two stories I want to share with you guys before we go into much detail. But before that, I want to establish there is a difference between slapping and palm striking. Let me illustrate that so you guys can get an idea of uh, how it looks different visually, and then I will uh, give you more explanation. Okay? Now, this is a chair, an ordinary chair, kind of heavy. It's one of the chairs I sit in quite often. Okay, so this is slapping. Alright, that's slapping. As you can see, when I slap this chair, it kind of jumps and moves. Right? That is because I am exerting quite a good slap. Right? If I can make a heavy chair do this with a slap, I can slap the heck out of a person. Okay, but this is a different. Right? Watch again. This is a slap. Okay? It makes the chair jump and move away. Now, this is a palm strike. Huh. Watch that again. Chair back. This is a slap. It makes the chair jump away. This is a palm strike. It knocks the chair clear over. So to put it in the most simplified term, a slap is when you rely on that whipping motion. There's nothing supporting the back of your wrist. It's you whipping your hand through the air at high speed. You're relying on the velocity and that kinetic power when it makes the impact. Okay? It is strong, It can be very strong. It is satisfying and doesn't use a heck of a lot of energy. Palm strike, on the other hand, is me having a perfectly established chain. Uh, my wrist is behind my hand, my forearm is behind my wrist, my elbow is behind my forearm, and my shoulder, my hip, everything goes into it. It's like throwing a punch when I do an open hand strike. The only difference is I'm keeping my hand open. So when I throw an open hand strike, it's not just velocity, it's not just kinetic impact, it's my whole body weight, my muscles, my bone, my joints, all lined up and delivering that forward in an open hand, open palm strike. So today I'm going to be just talking about slap, right? So don't confuse that with open palm strike or palm strike in general. It's very different, and it's two different kind of attack. Very, very different. You can say uh, a slap is in the stun and pain compliant category, while a palm strike goes from a stun all the way up to a knockout or even killing someone category. So they're very different in power level. Okay, so today we're going to talk about the slap. But first, the two stories I promised to share. The first story was uh, I had a group of friends that were drinking. Now, in this group of friends, let's say there was a guy named David, the other guy named Peter. David was big and strong, and David was a policeman by career and trained in MMA and all that stuff on the side. David, big and strong, policeman, MMA fighter, martial artist. Peter, on the other hand, it's a computer geek. Work around the computer, live and eat and breathe computer. Doesn't go to the gym. Ah, so now we have Peter, David, and the rest of us drinking. Now, David is a very lousy drunk. What do I mean by that? He is the kind of drunk that when he gets drunk, he thinks he's Superman. David, when he said he tried to pick fights. He tried to egg you on and try to push you and um, try to wrestle you and grab you and put you in a headlock and all that stuff. He thinks that's fun when he get drunk. So we were all sitting around the table drinking, and David and Peter they were uh, sort of giving each other a hard time, talking and talking crap, and then David, getting drunk, uh, started to get belligerent. David started saying to Peter, "Oh, what's the matter? You just talk. Can you back up what you're saying to me? Do you have the ability? Do you want to fight? You want to fight? You want to fight? You want to fight?" And just like that, he's doing exactly what I'm doing. Like, you want to fight? He's pushing forward, shoving Peter. And Peter stood up, David stood up, and we were all thinking, "Oh God, here it goes." Next thing you know, Peter jumped forward and slapped David across the face. There was a stunned silence, not just from us, from David too. Uh, And David rubbed his face and got angry, and he said, "Why the?" Before he even got the dirty word out, Peter jumped up and slapped him again, same spot on the face. And of course, David then put his arm up and, "Hey, you what? You what? No, you're not. You can't hit me like that." And whatever. I don't know what he was going to say. Okay, I'm just thinking that's what he was going to say. He put his fist up. He was going to fight, and then Peter jumped in, slap him, slap him, slap him, slap him. With every slap, this much smaller guy was backing this bigger guy towards the wall. And then finally, David sat down on the floor and started crying. And he sobered up and asked Peter, why did you hit me like that? I was just joking. And Peter said, because I wouldn't have stood a chance if I fight you. And you knew that. And you were doing that on purpose. You got drunk, and this is the kind of crap you do. You get drunk and you pick up people. And so I figured that if I slap you a few times, I would sober you up. Okay. So in this case, the slapping worked beautifully. Okay. Now the second story. This was also a group of, well, actually one friend of mine named Felix in high school. Now Felix, like David in the previous example, big, strong, uh, went to the gym. Now Felix didn't train. He was a high school kid, so he was no policeman, of course. But he went to the gym. He lifted a lot of weights. And he was the kind of kid that could bust out 200, 300 push-ups on the spot if you ask him to. He's very strong, very, very fit. One time, Felix got into a fight with another guy, another kid in the hallway. We were there watching because none of us ever seen Felix fight before. We knew he was strong, and we kind of speculated that he might be very dangerous in the fight because of how strong he was. So we wanted to see. So next thing you saw the standard, the general thing that you would expect to see when two school kids fighting. There's a lot of shoving, yelling, cussing, and then the other guy grabbed Felix in the big headlock and slammed him back into the wall. And then Felix just went to town on the guy's back and rib cage that with this big open hand, full power slap, 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 slap. But the guy wasn't feeling it. I mean, the guy just kept choking him, kept slamming him into the locker until finally Felix just tapped out. He just like tapped and said uncle basically. And that was that. So in this case, the slapping, even from a massively powered high school kid like Felix, did not work. Why? Why did it work in the first scenario when it was used by Peter, who was so much smaller, so much weaker, and wasn't trained against a much bigger opponent? Why did it work? But why didn't it work the second time when it was used by Felix, who was big and strong, and by all means should have been breaking the guy's ribcage and spine with those big, massive slaps? Why didn't it work? Huh? That is what we want to address today. Because slapping, while it is a fantastic technique, like any other technique, there are times when slapping will fail. And as practitioners of self-defense, we need to know when techniques fail, why techniques fail, so we can anticipate when that might happen. First, let's look at why is slapping a great technique. Slapping is a great technique because it doesn't require a lot of complication. It doesn't require a whole complicated skills or circumstances. You don't need the perfect body posture. You don't need a good setup with your stances. You don't need to make sure everything is lined up properly. So it is very simple. It's the kind of thing that you can just bust out immediately if you need it. So it's simple. Second, uh, it is very energy efficient. When you just swing, 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 and just slapping the person, it doesn't take a lot of energy. It takes way less energy than punching, or chopping, or of course kicking, or throwing. Throwing, kicking takes so much energy. I don't even want to go into that. But slapping is very energy efficient. Third, slapping is extremely effective because it capitalizes on psychology. What do I mean by that? Most of us grow up having been slapped a few times by our parents. This means this fear of being slapped, that negative feeling, that fear and shame and humiliation from your childhood is all built into this. This is a trigger. This is an attack that can trigger a lot of things. This is why. This is why when you get into a fight with a guy, if you just punch him in the mouth versus you open up and slap him across the face, I almost guarantee you most guys will say they rather get punched in the mouth than get slapped across the face, even though the punch to the mouth does way more damage than a slap across the face. Because that slap across the face is very humiliating and it brings out all kinds of negative emotion. This is how a slap is able to stun people so easily. Also, a slap is effective because combining that it is simple, it is energy effective, it is very fast, and can be used repeatedly. Right? Repeatedly. The slap also has the advantage of very difficult to kill someone with a slap. So you're not likely to get into legal issues if you get in a fight and you slap the guy silly, because there's very little that you can actually harm them, actually break. Now I say very little because there are some, and we'll address that. So slap is a relatively safe, pain compliant. And that brings us to the last point. Why does slap work? Why is it good? Because it's a pain compliant technique. Okay? Getting slapped, no matter if it's by a man, woman, or a child, hurts. If you don't believe me, if you have a child, kneel down on the floor and ask your child to slap you across the face and tell me if that hurt or not. I guarantee you it hurts a lot. Right? So slapping is one of those pain compliances that uh, promises a kind of feedback that some other techniques not necessarily going to give you. Right? A lot of guys, especially guys like me that get conditioned uh, very regularly, can take a punch to the chest or a kick to the stomach or even a punch to the jaw and keep on moving forward. But most guys, even including myself, if I suddenly take a big slap to the face, that is going to shock my brain into a WTF stunned few seconds before I get angry, before I get really angry. But there is going to be a few seconds for the person who's doing the slapping to capitalize on it. Now, when does slapping not work? Why is it in Felix's case it failed to work even though he's so big and strong? Well, number one, because slapping has nothing to do with you being big and strong. As I mentioned, a good slap is speed, velocity, and kinetic impact. So it doesn't matter how strong you are. Okay? The weight of your arm, the speed you move that arm at, might make a difference. But for the most part, getting slapped by a small guy versus getting slapped by a big guy, hurts more or less the same. Okay, um, so slapping is not going to maximize your usage of your power. Right? It's not a very good power output because it doesn't use a lot of energy. So minimum energy means minimum power. And that is not always the truth. That is not always the fact. But in this case, it is. In this case, you can slap as hard as you can, but because it doesn't use a lot of energy, it doesn't generate as much power. Also, slapping require repeating. So as we see in both stories, the slapper repeatedly slap the person. Okay, this is because slapping itself doesn't generate a heck of a lot of damage. It doesn't have a high power output, doesn't generate a lot of damage. So to register, you kind of have to keep doing it. Right? So if you don't get a chance to keep doing that, or if you make the this is a very classic mistake of someone who slaps the person across the face and then step back and wait, you are going to get your butt kicked really bad because you slap the person. That person will get really angry. Right? Um, when I was little, even for my parents, they try not to slap me across the face because there has been times when I just went berserk when they slapped me across the face, when other adults slapped me across the face. I was like 7 year old, 6 year old. I mean, I was very small and blind. I was a small, blind 6 year old child. But if an adult slapped me across the face, I would jump on him and claw him and bite him and try to tear out his eyes. That's how much getting slapped would trigger me when I was a child. So if you want to slap someone, you kind of have to keep doing it. Otherwise, you can expect that kind of result. You slap someone just once, that person will get very angry. You slap someone twice, that person will get even more angry. But if you keep it up, uh, if you slap them 10 times, most likely they'll start crying and wanting to stop. Okay, so needing repetition. That's another thing with a slap. A slap is also not effective if you don't have room to swing your arm. Okay, so you need that distance, you need the range to get a good slap in. Now, of course, we've talked about circular motion before, where we can generate a lot of impact on very small movement by making it a circle. But a lot of people have not mastered the circular motion striking technique. So since slapping is such a simple thing, usually people are not even thinking about it. So if I'm slapping from right to left, right to left, that will give me a lot of impact, a lot of power. But if my right side is a wall or a counter, I don't have room to swing out. Right? Then I just swing straight. Then the impact is very minimal. Okay, so it requires range or an understanding of circular striking pattern. There's two more reasons. There's two more reasons why slapping may fail, and they are both related. One is slapping, unless you know where to target, does not do enough damage. And we're not even just talking about doing damage to a person, we're talking about psychology. Again, fight psychology. The person being slapped knows it's not going to kill them, knows it's not going to break them. It just hurts. Okay? It's like someone snapping you with a rubber band. It hurts, yeah. But if you're really angry, you're going to ignore that, no problem. That is why sometimes slapping will fail in a fight. When a person is really angry and can ignore that level of pain because they know it's not going to damage them, then you kind of have a bit of a problem uh, on your hand. Uh, so that is the biggest issue with slapping, fail to work in confrontation. Uh, and it leads to the reason why in Felix's case, even though Felix is big and strong, and the guy is choking him, so the guy's arm is not even blocking, so Felix just slapping back, side, in the rib, in the stomach, and on the leg, on the back of the head. Why didn't that work? Because those are not viable targets for slapping. So slapping is a very specifically targeted technique. You can't just slap anywhere you want. I mean, you can, but it's not going to work very good, right? Slapping someone on the arm as hard as you can, if the person is just standing there at the bus stop, that's going to hurt them. Yeah, the person is going to, ow, why you do that? Don't hit me. Right? If a person is trying to steal your wallet and you slap them across the forearm as hard as you can, that may deter them because they don't want to get hit again, so they go elsewhere. But for the most part, if the person is angry, very angry, or very determined to do you harm, you can slap them about the body or arms or back of the head all day long. They're not going to register. So, with all that said, how can we maximize our slapping? Luckily, it's not that difficult. First, to learn about how to generate force without needing that range, without needing that wide swing. You can practice that on your own hand. Okay? Put your fingertip, I put my left fingertip on the back of my right hand. Right? So this is a distance I'm going to operate from. So if I swing back and hit it, right, ow, that hurts, yeah. But I want to learn to hit hard, to slap hard without needing that range. So I'm going to start from my fingertip touching the back of my hand and slap from this distance. If I just slap from this, it doesn't hurt at all, right? But if I add that little circular motion, ow, that hurts way more than even that wide swinging slap. Okay, so practice. You can practice this on your own hand. I know it hurts, but if you can make it hurt doing this, then you know it will hurt even more when you hit the target you want. And that is the next thing, is where to target. Because without knowing where you should target, then it's all going to be moot point. Okay, the optimum place to target with a slap is either on the nose, straight on the nose, straight over the eyes, and straight over the ears. When you slap these locations, you're not even relying on the slap itself, you're relying on your palm driving the air straight into the cavity. When you slap over the eye, the the air pressure from your palm will press the air into the eye socket. When you slap the nose, your palm will break the nose, and also there will be a pocket of air that go right into the nostril. When you hit the ears, that air will go right into the eardrum. Right? Those are the three prime targets. Unfortunately, without those three, the only other target, I would say the only other two targets that are really viable are the groin and finger. What do I mean by finger? I don't mean like someone uh, punching you and you slapping their fist or the finger. It doesn't work. You need to capitalize on when the person has a finger sticking out, like someone's pointing the finger at you. Someone's pointing at you. And you do your quick little circular slap right over the finger. This will break the finger. You slap the groin, it will damage the groin. You slap the ear, it will rupture the eardrum. You slap over the eyes, it will damage the eyeball. You slap the nose, it will break the nose. The keyword here is breaking. Keyword here is breaking. Slapping will only really work on an angry, determined target if it causes structural damage. If you don't cause structural damage, then most people, when they are angry enough or high enough or drunk enough, can ignore that. In another word, If, when in our first story, if Peter slapped David and did not follow through quick enough and put David on the defensive, if he gave David a chance to work up enough anger, then those slaps to the face would fail and Peter would get beat up really bad. So the key is to do it and keep doing it and pick the right target and learn how to generate a lot of force without needing to swing your arm wide by learning that little circular slapping motion. And let me slow this down. Hopefully you guys can see it. When I'm slapping, I'm drawing a circle in the air with my palm before slapping. Circle, circle, circle. Right? I'm not just swinging it back and forward, back and forward, back and forward. Okay? So that's it, folks. Uh, a little bit cobbled together, but I hope that those are information that might have answered a few questions you might have had in your mind regarding slapping, open-handed attack. Uh, so we'll be back again tomorrow for some Music Monday and makeup video for Sausage Sunday. For now, have a good night and stay safe. And if you're in BC, Alberta area, stay warm.